chess.com, the biggest chess website in the world, has released now their most powerful chess bot on their beautiful chess website. Let me introduce you now the M3GAN chess bot that you can now play against on chess.com. And this M3GAN chess bot, it's of course named after the new released horror movie M3GAN. M3GAN is of course the main character of this horror movie. If you're searching maybe for great horror movies, let me just suggest you one great movie from 1986. Please watch The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. It's, I think, one of the greatest horror movies of all times. In my opinion, one of the greatest movies that I've seen in my life. Really, really great story that has been told. Incredible movie. One of the greatest performances also by Jeff Goldblum. As I said, in my opinion, simply one of the greatest horror movies of all times. So let's talk about this M3GAN chessbot engine. M3GAN and Mittens. The Mittens engine has been released also a couple of weeks ago. Played now a direct duel. They played a direct match against each other, and M3GAN destroyed Mittens with 1+ advantage. So Mittens lost the match against M3GAN. It was an incredible battle with many great tactical ideas, with many great tactical sequences, and I've sorted out what is, in my opinion, one of the most epic games that I've seen between these two top engines. It's an incredible game with so many dirty ideas, with so many dirty tactical traps. So be prepared. Let me introduce you now really this M3GAN chessbot with this epic performance against also this strong Mittens chessbot. So let's see now the game. So here M3GAN opened with the move e4. Here Mittens response was the move e5, and after move knight to f3, knight to c6, we have now the move d4, the Scotch game. And it's of course already an open game. It's of course already a direct duel. It's already punching now in the center of the board. So e takes d4, knight to d4, we have d6, knight to c3, and after move knight to f6, we have bishop to e2, preparing here also normal development with bishop to e3. Then of course you cannot be challenged with the move knight to g4 because we have a great control of the square by the bishop and also by the queen. So in the continuation, bishop to e7, bishop to e3, and you see now most of the times we are trying now from White's perspective to play ideas of queen to d2, maybe queenside castling, even f3, g4, h4, and similar stuff. On the other hand, Black is searching maybe for kingside castling ideas and maybe with ideas to break and enter with the move d5. So these are, I think, the most important strategic concepts here for both sides. But actually, here after move castling was also played by here the M3GAN chessbot, although I've expected queen to d2, maybe even queenside castling, but now the kings are on the same side, so it's not such a huge tactical battle. Now when the kings are of course on opposite sides, then we can expect very some great tactical madness. But so far a great positional game by both the chessbots. Here rook to e8, preparing now maybe to play even bishop to f8, opening up the e file and maybe hitting the weak pawn on e4. So in the continuation, f4 here played by the M3GAN chessbot. Look at this. These two pawns are controlling really 4 important squares on the other side of the board. But when you play aggressively like this, then you leave also some spaces behind. So sometimes when we play too aggressively, you could really get damaged here with on the third rank, maybe here on f2 and similar stuff. So it's really a great choice here by the M3GAN chessbot. Now we can expect again a great tactical battle. So knight to d4, bishop to d4. We have now the move c6. Here Mittens builds the so-called Boleslavsky wall pawn structure. This setup c6 d6, it's called the Boleslavsky wall. It's not allowing here of course some activities by minor pieces of white. It's controlling here 4 important squares also in the center of the board. So rook to b1, preparing now b4, a4, b5. Here M3GAN is trying to launch a minority attack by playing with these two pawns, with the a pawn and the b pawn, against these 3 pawns, against the pawn on c6, against the pawn on b7, and also against the pawn on a7. So when we are launching this minority attack, what we are hoping for is of course to get some kind of a weakness on that side of the board. It can be maybe an isolated pawn, it can be maybe a weak square, it can be maybe a double pawn structure. So with this minority attack here, M3GAN is trying to provoke at least some kind of a structural weakness. So in the continuation, bishop to e6, now a4, preventing b5, a6 by Mittens is preparing, of course, now finally to play the move b5. Now we have b4, b5. After a takes b5, we have a takes b5, and now queen to d2, protecting everything. And now we have finished here from white's perspective our development, because now also finally the rooks are connected. So in the continuation, rook to a3 was played by Mittens, and Mittens is really, of course, a great tactician. It's a great tactical bot. It's preparing a wild idea. Rook takes c3, maybe followed with knight to e4. If you play c5 here, if you are maybe hitting the bishop here in this particular way, then bishop to f6 is of course happening, bishop to f6, and now you lose the pawn on b5, and then of course the d6 is weak, so it's not working. So this c5 aggressive method to get the tempo against the bishop is simply not working. So that's why from queen to d2, as we said, rook to a3 played by Mittens. We have rook to d1, we have now queen to a8, and again, if you try some ideas of d5, maybe to open the center somehow and liberate finally the dashboard bishop. Again, it's not working. I think e5, maybe you play knight to e4. Look at this, knight takes e4, d takes e4, and now f5. f5 is breaking here the position, because you cannot play again the c5 method. Will simply pick it up. You can maybe pick up also here the bishop, but actually you get destroyed here on f7. That's of course also something that bothers black in the continuation of the game. So that's why after move rook to d1, we have queen to a8. Great choice by Mittens. Mittens is controlling now the only open file on the board. It's of course the a file, but when we think about this position a little bit harder, nothing is actually happening on the a file. Okay, you have your fun, but actually you don't gain anything out of this tactical possibilities. So far nothing spectacular in the game here. M3GAN continues with the move h3, is preparing also to secure the king a little bit longer here on h2, because the king could be endangered maybe on this diagonal here. The M3GAN chessbot is trying to play now much more freely with the dark bishop. So h6, now comes this idea, king to h2, queen to b7, rook to f3, and now comes the tactical stunner of the game, rook takes c3. Here Mittens makes a huge decision, and Mittens played here a wild tactical sequence. But does it work? Because of course M3GAN has to accept the challenge. Queen to c3, now comes this idea, knight to e4, you have to step back, queen to e1, now d5. Pretty standard idea, of course, fixing now the knight in the center of the board. And you see now this knight is now supported. You cannot really easily kick away this knight, so that's why bishop to d3 was M3GAN's ideas, to finally get rid of this annoying knight in the center of the board. Mittens protects it with bishop to f5, but of course we have this opportunity, g4, the bishop has to step back, and now with the move f5, we have now attacked the knight twice, and of course you cannot protect it further. You can maybe get out of the mess, maybe reroute the knight on c4, but actually the knight is much more powerful on e4. But actually what Mittens had in mind was a great tactical idea with this move, knight to g5, hitting the rook after rook to e3. Now we have a new stunner, knight to f3, a beautiful knight sacrifice, but after rook to f3, now comes the stunner, bishop to d6, discover check, and of course also the queen is in danger, so now the queen is hanging. So from this point on, Mittens is hoping maybe to get at least equality in the game. But of course, you see how strong really this M3GAN chessbot is. Actually, this was a great calculation by white, because okay, we can play king to g2, okay, you can pick up the queen, but now after move rook to e1, actually black hasn't solved all of the positional problems. It should be about equal, because when we count material, okay, black has the queen for 2 rooks, and black has 3 pawns here on the queen side against these 2 pawns of whites on the queen side too. So it should be equal when we count just material, but when we count activity, it's not the same thing, because we can notice now, first of all, that there are some tactical problems here on the e file, and also we can notice that the bishop is paralyzed, the bishop is simply out of game. So this is still a much better position for white, although as I said, the material is about equal. But this is not how we should really watch this position, because you don't have time, of course, to pick up this just one pawn, because you're getting checked, and here after this one, bishop to c5 is simply winning the game, so you're getting destroyed by this piece activity of white. So that's why after move rook to e1, Mittens has to create some spaces for the king, some breathing spaces, but this move actually locks further the bishop on h7. When the pawn was here on f7, still then you could maybe break the position with the move g6, but now after move f6 actually the bishop is paralyzed, and that was great calculation here by m3GAN paralyzed basically every pieces. The queen is out of game. Okay, this bishop has a certain activity, but still there are worries here on the e file. So here c3 by the m3GAN, fixing everything now here on the queen side. We have king to f7, and now rook to e6, of course, preparing rook to e3 and a powerful battery on the e file. So bishop to e5, now comes again a new beautiful move. Bishop to c5 is threatening, of course, rook to e7, picking up the queen. We have queen to c8, and now rook to e3. Doubling up rooks, of course, it is, because you cannot again pick up here this one. You're getting destroyed by the rook activity on the e file. Really great moves here by the m3GAN chess bot. So let's see now what happens in the continuation. So here queen to d8 was played by Mittens. If you play queen to a8, if you're trying somehow to protect the pawn on c6, actually the problem is now something like rook to e1. Okay, you can get your fun with a couple of checks. Now we can play again rook to e7, and there's simply not a good move anymore. You cannot step back actually from the first rank, because look at this, we can even discover check play here. You pick up the queen, so it's simply not working here for black. Black is getting destroyed by the rook and bishop's activity. So that's why here after rook to e3 you see black needs to stay with the queen on the 8th rank, so everything is paralyzed. The black's pieces are simply too passive, so that's why queen to d8 was played. But now here m3GAN can pick up also this pawn on c6, so it's really bad game for black. Black is losing here the game for sure. So king to g8, we have bishop to b5. The position is really falling apart. We have here king to h8, bishop to d4. We have bishop to g8. Finally, this bishop is coming into the game, but again, look at this, it's blocked out by its own pawn, so really bad position here by black. So bishop to f1, bishop to f7, b5, simply pushing this pass pawn here, of course threatened to here promotion on b8. In the continuation, bishop to f4, rook to e1, bishop to e8, rook to e6, again building this beautiful battery on the e file, bishop to d7, and now a beautiful choice here, b6, ignoring simply the threat of bishop takes e6, because if that happens, we'll simply pick it up with f takes e6, and now we have created two passers. The queen is always deflected to the defense of the potential promotion. We'll get the bishop into the game. This bishop is coming into the game, which is of course covering the ex square, so it's game over here for black for sure. So that's why after move b6, here bishop to b8 was played, bishop to d3, king to g8, rook to e7, bishop to d6, rook to e2, and now finally Mittens is trying to get the queen somehow into the game, but the queen is paralyzed. The queen doesn't have any support. The bishops are simply too passive. If you could maybe somehow build some kind of a battery here on dark horse, maybe you would have some chances, but not like this. The pieces are not getting into the game in any ways here by black. So rook to b1, we have bishop to b8, b7, queen to a4, rook to e7, we have queen to c6, and now beautiful motif again by m3GAN, bishop to a7. If you pick it up, of course, then you're getting destroyed by the potential promotion here. You have to step back, and now look at this. After rook to d8, the game is over. You cannot do anything with just play again a battery on the e file, and if you maybe play something like this, you get checkmated. Even if you try to create some other breathing spaces here, like I don't know, g6, g5, then you get again checkmated by this move. So everything is messed up here for black for sure. So that's why after bishop to a7, we have queen to c3. Now m3GAN picks up of course the bishop on b8. We have queen takes d3, and now after bishop to d6, okay, here the rook is hanging, but now of course we can play a promotion. Even if you try some ideas of queen to c2, maybe try some perpetuals, then king to g3 is going to happen. You have maybe fun with one more check, but no further checks are possible. Even if you manage to somehow play queen to f2, still there is this resource, bishop to g3, so now there's simply no protection against this promotion on b8, so the game would be over. So that's why after move bishop to d6, we have this sequence, queen takes b1, but now a new promotion, and after this move, so it's obviously a completely winning game here for whites. But let's continue, because the game was prolonged till checkmate. Here m3GAN goes simply with the king further, plays h4, bishop to to h3, bishop to d4. Now g5, of course, opening the position. g6 is, of course, locking now. These two squares, there is always the threat of a checkmate. So that's why here bishop to a6, rook to f7. We have king to e8, rook takes g7. Now after a couple of moves, the bishop is also coming into the game. We have here pin. You have to play it like this, and now after rook to c7, king to h5, rook to h7, the game ended here with this beautiful, beautiful checkmate. So incredible game here by m3GAN against Mittens. m3GAN won their direct duel, as I said. So still this m3GAN chessbot, it's slightly better than Mittens. Mittens caused me really some headaches in the last couple of weeks. I played a couple of times and I got really destroyed. So this m3GAN chessbot, it's even stronger. Probably, of course, it's not stronger than Stockfish or Komodo or the Lila chess engine, but still, it's, I think, quite fun to play against these bots because they're human-like chess engines. They're playing really wild tactical sequences. They're playing wild ideas, and they're not playing, of course, the most powerful moves. They're not playing every time the best suggested move by the Stockfish engine. They're playing maybe slightly worse move, but with a different impact, but with different ideas, with different tactical opportunities, maybe even with some queen sacrifices that maybe Stockfish would not play, because Stockfish maybe sees a different continuation, but maybe the queen sacrifice is much more attractive. So I think you should try it out. You should play against the Mittens chessbot, but also now against this new m3GAN chessbot. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. Really interesting tactical shots in the middle game stage. If you want to see the game between Stockfish and Mittens, here's also the beautiful game that I played with, again, also wild tactical ideas. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.